Beware the sympathy trap. How a grieving son turned creepy fast. This is a long one, so bear with me. A bit of context before I begin. I, a 21-year-old female, work in the hospitality industry, specifically doing graveyard shifts, usually running from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. I have seen and dealt with some of the most insane experiences. I could probably write a book at this point. But this particular experience was one of the most frightening. I was brought up to be caring, empathetic, and understanding. These core values mean a lot to me, and I live by them. On numerous occasions, I have been told that constantly having this mentality could lead to me being targeted by people with ill intentions, and I did not believe that. It is nice to be nice after all. But in hindsight, after everything that has happened, I have learned to be a bit more skeptical. Usually on these graveyard shifts, there are 2 of us in the building at all times. When we finish our work, we are basically free to sit down and relax for the remainder of our shift, or at least until the morning manager arrived at roughly 6 a.m. So I did just that. Finished my tasks and sat down in the main area of the building to have a late-night snack and watch some reels on my phone, as you do. My coworker decided he would take a nap, as it was roughly 3 a.m. at this point and nobody was around. Fine by me. About 20 minutes passed when I heard a commotion near the bar area. Obviously, I looked up from my phone, only to meet the eyes of this man, about 40 maybe, just standing at the bar counter. This was not unusual. Oftentimes, people would come down to grab some water or a smoke before heading back to bed. I thought nothing of it and went back to doom scrolling on my phone. Sorry, excuse me, I thought to myself. What could this man possibly want from me at 3:30 a.m.? I stood up and asked if he was okay, and apologized for being on my phone, hoping he would not complain to my manager in the morning. He responded, but I could not quite pick up what he was saying. I walked over to the bar and kindly asked him to repeat himself, apologizing for not hearing him. Is it okay if I have some water? He was shaking, almost nervous, soft-spoken, and honestly non-threatening, except for the fact he was about 6 feet tall and I am 5 feet tall. Of course, I said yes, and went to walk away when he stopped me. I am sorry. Is it okay if I talk to you for a while? My mom is dying in the hospital, and I cannot sleep. Looking back, I am kicking myself for not making up some excuse about needing to do work, but I agreed to stay and talk with him. Stupid. Blinding empathy. He asked if I smoked, and I do, so I said yes. He then asked me to step outside to smoke and talk, and I stupidly agreed. We talked about his mom, and I tried my best to comfort him. I had just recently had someone pass away, so this topic of conversation hit particularly hard. He thanked me for being so kind and continued to talk about his life, how he used to be homeless but moved in with his sister and got back on his feet, and that they were both staying here due to the circumstances but were not from this city. I listened and occasionally responded by nodding. It was a polite conversation, but then something changed. Are there cameras out here? I would not want you getting in trouble for being out here. How this did not register in my mind as a red flag is unbelievable. How gullible can you be? Anyway, thankfully, I did not respond with yes or no, but just assured him I would not get into trouble for being outside smoking. He seemed disappointed with my answer, I presume because he did not get any information about where the cameras were placed. The conversation kept getting weirder and creepier. None of this I realized. I just saw a sad man needing a friend. Yes, I know, I am stupid and I am angry at myself too. Eventually, some form of fight or flight activated in my brain. I told him I was cold and was going to head in. Come here. Give me a hug. It will warm you up. What on earth? At this point, I was creeped out, but thinking maybe he is just bad at picking up social cues or something. So I declined and walked inside. He followed. He asked if he could grab a coffee and sit with me for a while, and being by myself, on the verge of a panic attack, and not wanting to get on this guy's bad side, I agreed. We sat there, and he continued to ask odd questions. Do you have kids? No. Do you want kids? Do you have a boyfriend? I told him I had a fiancé, which was a lie. Do you love him? I mean no harm in asking these questions. You are so beautiful. At this point, my brain was screaming at me to get out of this situation. I had to think quickly. Come sit next to me, I will not bite. No. I quickly made up the excuse that I had to get the area ready for the morning and that my manager would be showing up any minute. At the same time, my coworker woke from his nap and passed by to get a coffee. This startled the man. and he stood up before saying, "Tell your mom I was asking for her," forcing a hug, and left to go to his room. Oh my goodness. He was pretending to be a family friend so that my coworker would not be suspicious of him. I stood there in shock, not even being able to speak. My brain was still trying to process what had just happened. I kept quiet, helping my coworker set up for the morning, as it was now 5:30 a.m. Yes, I was dealing with this man for 2 grueling hours. I sat down at 5:50 and waited for my manager to show up so that I could finally go home, hoping that man would not come back before I got to leave. Wishful thinking. He showed up behind me out of nowhere. "I think I will go to the shops. I am out of smokes. Okay? Why do I need to know this?" I kept silent before he asked me for my pen, which I gave him, and he walked off again. He returned 5 minutes later and gave me back my pen. "I wrote a note for you," he said, stood close to me, dropped a piece of cardboard behind my back, and walked away. In hindsight, I see how sneaky this was. He made sure no one could see him dropping that note. I picked it up. It was pretty weird, but one line in particular made my skin crawl. "Wear tighter work pants for me next time. They would look good." Harmless. I ran to the office and sat in front of the closed-circuit television monitor, seeing exactly where he was. He was standing outside the building, pacing, waiting. He then walked back into the building, and on the camera, I could see he was looking for me. But thankfully, at this point, I was in the office, so he walked back outside, starting pacing again, and waiting before hiding himself out of sight behind a corner. I told my manager, who told me to exit via the back entrance, which I did. I was shaking, checking behind me every few seconds, every noise making me run faster and faster until eventually I reached the safety of my home. I sat down, processing what had just happened, when suddenly my phone vibrated. "Hey, it is Name. Thanks for the chat. Talk soon." How did he get my number? I have never blocked someone quicker in my life. I told the higher-ups what had happened and did not return to work for at least a month, and until he was permanently barred from my workplace. I still fear I will see him somewhere, that he will be waiting. Thankfully, I have not seen him since, and do not wish to. And if you are reading this, let us not meet again.